NO-OBLIVION Multigenerational Debates podcast.
Thank you very much to everyone joining us today, especially to Ivana Bodrožić. I'm really grateful for all the written words, but also to the way how you speak publicly, Ivana, how you open sensitive topics and how you actually allow us as a society, not just Croatian society, but also other post-Yugoslav societies and international listeners and readers to contemplate on the way how to survive and speak for human rights and human dignity. I'm really happy to say a few words about your books which have been translated. First of all, the Hotel Tito or Hotel Zagorje as we know it, which is really applauded all over the world as one of the best written texts from perspective of a young girl being born in Vukovar and then had to leave it and coping with the challenges of teenage years. And I'm happy to say something about your collection of poetry and sentimental mood, with wish that more collections are to come, because your voice as a poet, it's really touching me deeply. And for me, your poems are something what I live through in the mornings to find inspiration and energy for a day. And it's also that I would also like to recommend We Trade Our Nights for Someone Else's Day to the prospective readers, because it's a special travel which leads us through many taboo subjects. And it's very important to discuss them and to go through them through more respect for human rights. And I'm really here to moderate from the shadow, because the biggest work today will be done by Anthony Bloomberg and Martina Valentini. And actually we went together through the process of preparation, and this whole discussion, it's a big test for us, and I hope we'll learn a lot from it. So very welcome, Ivana, very welcome, Martina and Anthony, and now I invite Anthony and Martina to take over.
Thank you so much, Vesna, for the introduction, and thanks, Ivana, for joining us today and everyone else attending. So our first question for our speakers is kind of framing our whole discussion, which is centered on the link between literature and memorialization. So our first question for you is, why did you choose writing as your form of expression for conveying your experiences and themes?
Thank you for inviting me. It's a really honor to be here, and especially among a younger generation. You are a little bit older than my teenage kids, and they are not always so open to hear what was going on before, because it's normal and it's natural to be, self-focused in that period of your life, and I think it's very important to talk about everything what happens, so we can maybe in that way avoid some things from the past, and maybe we can be a little bit more careful to the things that they are coming to us from the future. So first question was why writing, right? Okay. I would say that reading was part of my life from very young age. When I was a child, in age of, I would say, 8, 9 years old, There wasn't internet, TikTok, Instagram, or something like that, or video games. So we had books. And I was very eager to read. I remember when I was, I think, first year of my school, I wasn't old enough to go to the library by myself. And I was thinking, okay, one day when I will be able to go to library by myself, I really be, near to adult and I could do almost anything. So during that period, we didn't had much other things to do, and we really read a lot. And I would say that reading really helped me go through that period of my life during the war, because it gave me something that I could understand that there is more than one experience, because when you are in your life and everything what is happening around you, then if you don't have any other sources, you can really think that world must look like that. So books really helped me to overcome, I think, some periods in my life and also some traumas. And after the reading, writing in a way came naturally. Because I felt that I could also express myself in some way. So, beside my life experience, which was one part of my life in war, I think that I would always write, but maybe about different topics, because the reading was really, I could say, my first love and something that I really could identified with myself. And everything that was happening around me, it was less scary, because books gave me that impression that other lives are important too, and other lives can be lived in some other circumstances. So that's why I maybe choose writing to express myself.
Yeah, so writing is clearly a huge part of your personality and your development, but your work also tells a bigger story about memory, identity, and society. And especially in such a unique historical context as Croatia or the whole region is in, what do you think is the role of literature there in your country and the whole region?
I would say that a role of writing and art in general is more or less the same in every region. Thing that books can give us, and art in general, especially movies, shows, theater, is that the main tool of art and writing is the process of identification. We are learning how to be humans from the art in a way, because when we are thinking or when we are talking about the huge tragedies in past, when we are talking about huge historical events, we have this special kind of dimension. We always forget the numbers. We always forget the locations. We can memorize them for a short time, but when time is passing by, we are just forgetting it, because we cannot connect with those data so well. The thing which we are remembering is the human stories. We are thinking about ourselves, that we are so unique and special and one of the kind. In a way it's true, but in a way it's not. The reason why we can understand each other so well, why we can, watch movie in theater and 200 people can cry at the same scene, it's because we are so similar. And it's because we have the same need, because we have the same program in ourselves. We all need to be loved. We all need to be accepted in our communities. We all need to be, to feel ourselves as a part of society. So writing can give you, or reading can give you, this feeling that you are not alone, and you can understand someone else in the similar position or even in a different position. And it's great because it can widen your horizon. It can, make stronger your empathy, and you are just not so alone, and you are not so, I could say, miserable in your own situation, because you just feel connected in a different way that you are connected through social media or something like that. Because when we are reading, we are diving really deep in concentration, in empathy, in, the stories that could be ours. So I think in this region and in any other region, the art is really crucial. One of the crucial things, which is connecting and not dividing people, because art is always telling to us we can understand each other because we are so similar. And through that, when we feel that we are similar, it's much harder to harm someone. When I'm thinking about your life or reading about your life, and then when I realize that you have the same needs or same or similar habits, or, same fears, it's so much harder to think about you as you are not the human being same as me. So then it's much harder to be in war with you. So I think the art is really crucial for, building those bridges among the people and among the communities.
Thank you. And you spoke of the process of identification that comes through art and the importance of art and literature in order to connect people and to share human stories and to foster mutual understanding. So how do you feel this fits into reflecting on the past and the whole practices of memorialization?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not simple. It's not simple answer, and it's not one answer. We are, in a way, our memories. We are always looking back, and we are always, in a way, trying to fit ourselves in our past, and we are trying for our past to fit in our present. That's how we feel like complete persons. That's how we feel that we have our own identity, which is satisfying for us. Then we can be in peace in a way. So when someone destroys your past in a way, then it's not so easy to look up in the future. The problem with war is not only, destroyed houses or lives that were taken. The problem with war is that this kind of earthquake in society just doesn't give you anything to hope for, because then you realize that people are capable for almost everything. So when you learn that in early age, then you really need to work a little bit hard to just understand everything what really happened, and then in a way to proceed that, and then to make a peace with that, and then to be joyful toward your future. So writing really helped me in that process, because when we are writing, then we are trying in a way to establish what really happened in our past, and then we are trying to connect that with the humans or with the persons that we are today. So whether we want or not, it's a healing process. We can, a result of that, it can be bestseller, and the result of that, it can be I don't know, book that no one will read maybe, but for you, when you are writing, that is the healing process. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, and also connected to healing and dealing with the past, a huge key term. There's always memorialization and remembering the past. And what do you think are the key elements for making sure that the past is remembered in a meaningful and also constructive way?
That's a great question and also very hard. It's not easy to answer. Yes. Okay. When you go through some kind of huge trauma, which is so you cannot explain that to yourself. There is no reason why things are happening in that way, especially when you're a child. And it's not hard then to this experience becomes the central experience of your life. Yes, we want to remember that because we suffered through something and that made us persons that we are today, not only individuals, but whole society. And then we want to remember that and we want to, pay attention to that. We want for people to respect that. And that's so understandable. But there is also, it could be also dangerous in one way, because when you are choosing only to be focused on everything what happened in your past and what happened in your own trauma, then in a way you can stay there and just not be able to fulfill your other human capacity, especially when that is happening in a collective way. When memorialization becomes thing that starts to collect politician around it, and when it starts to be like official policy, and then we cannot control that anymore in a way that we are focused to the victims, then it could be like a big burden to all society and to the individuals. I think it's very important to find the balance between, respecting the things, like every pain in your life, and, to be thankful that you are survived that, and then to find the strength to build some other your potentials, not only to be focused on that one thing what happened. Because of my experience, I can understand people who are living in the past, because a lot of members of my family suffered very much, and it's maybe even harder when something like that happens when you are adult in, I don't know, middle in the middle of your adult life, because it's harder to start build something new again when you are 40 or 50 or 60. And for me, it's not hard to understand when you are so stuck in your past and in that pain and in those events that change your life, and you don't understand really why that happened like that. But as I said, there is a danger in that habit when you just don't see the present, what is happening now to you, and things are just, going in front of your eyes, and there are so much opportunities that you are maybe missing because all the time you are focused on what happened in the past, and you just want to be there. And as I said, I understand that, because you really need to find a lot of strength to just overcome. And especially, I think in society, there is a big responsibility in politics and in people who are trying to deal with those things, because it's not always only up to us how we are going to deal with our past or with our present or with future. So we would need to have a kind of visionaries in our society to just be aware that we really need to remember things, but in a way not to be always stuck. It's similar, when you have someone who is injured, for example, then you will give that person, 5 meals a day. You will put that person in clean bed. You will give them, music to listen or books to read. You're not going to come in that room every day and telling, what really happened to you? Your injury is like that. Do you remember that moment when you saw your blood, or I don't know what happened to you? And sometimes I have this feeling in our society, like we are trying to insist to keep those horrible moments, but without any room to let those people heal and to give them something that is more than, memories from the war and the past, that it's really hard and unpleasant. So I would like to think that the best way, or in my case, I think it was the best way to remember what really happened, but in a way try to, be focused also on the things that they are happening today and they're happening in the future. And also, one thing that I think can help with the healing process is to turn yourself toward the others, and try to help someone else. And in a way, then your pain will have some meaning. Because if you're trying to stay in your pain only because there is nothing else and you are bitter and that is your own only experience you want to put in front of yourself, then that it's pointless. You won't be better. But if you are, try a little bit to see people around yourself, maybe not with the same experience, but with a different experience, and try to help them with the things you know about the trauma and the pain and the healing, it can also help you so much in your process of getting better, and it can give meaning to everything that you had in your past.
And you've already obviously touched on this, but how would you define what memorialization is for you? And could you give a definition of what it is for Croatia or for the broader region? And is the definition of memorialization the same everywhere?
Yes, well, it's not the same everywhere, but there are, I could say, we can't have one definition because there are the layers of that phenomenon. It's not the same for the victims. It's not the same for local community. It's not the same for the president and the premier and, government. It's not the same for NGO organization. I think there are a lot of different layers of memorialization, and I cannot speak in the name of the others. I can speak only in my in name of myself. But for me, I could repeat the last answer. It's definitely a thing that I don't want to forget my own past, because it's part of me and it made me who am I today and who will I be in future. And I want to respect that. But in the way also, I don't want to be the prisoner of circumstances, because I truly believe that we are so much more than our circumstances. And when you look in the past and when you look to the people that you are admiring. They can be artists or politicians or leaders, or I don't know, in any profession. Most of all, you can see the people who overcame their circumstances, right? They didn't let that their life in the circumstances in which they came to make everything who they are. So, as I said, we need to find that balance. But in the society, I think that we need politicians who are much more responsible toward that topic. And I'm afraid that we don't have that. Not only in Croatia or in Riga, all over the world, we can see those cases when politicians are really they're seeing case like that, or people like that, or communities like that, only like opportunity for them to make some political points or establish themselves as a leaders. So I think in the region, is when we are talking about the war, more or less, is the similar situation.
And talking about also the dangers of politicization of the past. Do you know how your book Hotel Tito was perceived and received differently among the former Yugoslav countries?
Well, yeah, in a bit, yes, but also no. I don't know. It's strange for me. Hotel Tito, it is novel about the war. In a way, it's out of fiction, but there are also some things that I invented there. It's not everything true. It is a novel, because in life things are happening one after the other. We don't have that kind of control. Things are happening random. But in literature, things are happening one because of the other. We need to have strong motivation. So when we are writing novel about our life, not a documentary, but novel, then we need to invent some things just to be a good story. So there are some things that are not true in that novel, but basically the feeling and the atmosphere is definitely something that I lived. It's true in that way. And I always want to say that for me, that novel, the frame of that novel is war. But for me, it's coming of the age. It's novel about family. It's novel about, trying to find your identity during the really rough time, and trying to establish as one young girl or woman in that situation, which is really, really hard. And I think when you remove that frame, which is war, then you have universal story of everyone. The growing up is painful, and it's always painful wherever you are growing up. Adding war to that, it can really be horrible, but it's not everything in that. So when you're reading that novel, which was written from the point of view of young girl, and from that younger perspective, you can also say it's a novel about, having friends, going out, you're getting drunk for the first time, falling in love, and I think, as I said on the beginning, those are things that are so similar in all our lives, and it's something that we share, no matter, when we have war or when we don't have war. We always have some kind of traumas or tragedies in our lives. So I think that's the this point of the novel where people can meet, where readers can meet from not only former Yugoslavia, but from the other countries, because that novel was translated on several languages. So, and the reflections on that novel are pretty much the same. Maybe I had some different voices in Serbia, but it didn't came from my generation. It came from older generation, that generation who just saw that novel as through the, political statement. Croats on the one side and Serbs on the other side. And I like to think that this book is so much more than that, because I really was also aware when I was writing that, and that is one thing why I had problem in Croatia because of that novel, that not all Croats are good because they are victims, and not all Serbs are bad because they are on the side of aggression. So I just didn't want to paint that world black and white, because I don't believe in that world, and it's just not truth about us. So I had different reflections on that novel, but I would say they were coming from a really rigid political point of view, from the people who weren't able to see the complexity of life, and our common sense for trying to survive in this world and find our identity in it.
And talking about your books and your writing, when you started writing, you said that it came naturally to you after being an avid reader growing up. So when you started writing, did you initially write for yourself, or did you always intend to have a message and spread a message?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not that kind of guru with the message. I would like it would be easier for me to be one, but no. I started with the poetry, and my first novel is my second book, and I really didn't start like one day I sat down and I said, okay, today I'm a writer, and now I'm starting my novel. It came differently, because when I started to write Hotel Tito, I was in my early 20s and I had my first daughter, and I was thinking, it's not still happening to you, but it will. When we are growing up, we are forgetting things, because we don't have enough space in our memory. So in one moment I realized that I had really unusual childhood, and I just wanted to write down some of the things that I remember. And in the beginning, I didn't had any other, intentions with that. But maybe after first 30 or 40 pages, I realized that I'm probably writing a novel. And then, but in the beginning, that was only memories, some small episodes that I remember. And then I realized that I need someone who will tell that story, that I need, main character. And easiest for me was to choose that little girl in age of 9, because it was so natural for me to sleep in her skin and to feel that world as I remember it. And then I came back to the beginning, and then I started to write the novel. And from that moment, maybe after first 30, 40 pages, then I decided, okay, I could maybe write a novel and it could amuse me in a way. And it was really, it's in a way, it's not easy book, but it really amused me, and there is a lot of humor also in that novel, and it really helped me to, rebuild that story from the beginning. So also when I finished it, I didn't have any large expectation, because in that moment the war was really, behind us, or we thought that it was behind us. And I was assured that no one will read another story, from the point of view of refugee in Croatia. And I really didn't had any expectation toward that. But probably because I wrote that really sincerely and without any expectation, I was very relaxed during the writing, and I was very honest. So maybe that was also one of the keys why audience in the end react quite well.
So even you maybe had no initial message in your book. Do you think that maybe looking at it retrospectively, that you still conveyed a certain message to the readers?
Well, I don't know. I'm satisfied with that, how it all went out. So, in a way, I could say that I'm in the same point of view when I was there, when I was writing that novel, although it's 15 years ago, and it's something that I'm grateful because if there is any message from that novel or from my writing, I would like always to be the message of humanity, and trying to understand someone else, and to empathize with someone, and just to be able to open up yourself to the world and to hear other stories. So maybe that would be the message that I would like to give to my readers, if there is any message.
During the preparation of this interview, we discussed how much the Hotel Tito reminded us of a journal. And you said you actually started writing it as kind of like a way for yourself to have your memories written down. And how did you decide to maintain that intimate and direct narrative style? Was it a natural choice, or did you think about it?
Oh no, as I said, in the moment when I realized that I need something more than small chapters of my memories, then I realized that I need a character. So then I really established the character, and I was thinking about that, how she would be, and maybe how will I establish her voice. And that voice is changing during the novel, because she's at the beginning she's 9, and at the end she's 15, 16. So I think it's the major change in our life through that period, when we are kids and then when we are young adolescent. So it was a little bit tricky maybe to do that, but I just wanted to choose that period because I wanted to show how the war and things that happen had impact on my generation, and how it formed us in a way, and it's really sensitive age. So and it's also interesting age, because kids are kind and innocent, but also kids are brutal and self-centered. And for a writer, you have then so much material to work with, and you can really explore human nature during that period, because it's constantly in the change. When you have character in age of 40, it can be, of course, also interesting, but we are not changing that much between 30 and 40 or 40 and 50, but between 9 and 15, we are changing a lot. And then we are becoming aware of, different things like life and death and family and friendship and love and addiction. And for me, for me as a writer, it was very interesting to try to find that voice which can authentically talk about all of those topics.
So, Hotel Tito clearly has this like journaling style, but you also published another book, Rupa, or the English title is We Trade Our Night for Someone Else's Day, I think. And this is more of a political thriller. So very different styles of writing. And how do those different approaches kind of deal with the past differently?
Well, yeah, it's a definitely different book, and I had a lot of problem in Croatia after publishing that book because it's a funny way how this novel, how this story became a novel. At that time, it was one publishing house in Croatia trying to gather several Croatian authors to write some kind of crime story or thriller story because it was a peak of popularity of Scandinavian noir thrillers. So that publishing house wanted to do something local, but similar to the crime novels because they were very popular at that moment. So they called me to write a novel, and my first impression was like, no, I don't have brain for crime novel. I'm not that writer. And I was sitting with my friend, we were drinking something, and I said to him that I refuse to do that because I don't think that I have capacity. And he said to me, well, you're following the politic all the time and you're reading everything and you know who was there when, and you don't need better material for crime novel than Croatia, reality, Croatian political reality. So from that point of view, I realized that he's right. And then I said, okay, I could maybe write a political thriller. And that was the first problem because then I took some news articles about the crime novels, about not the crime novels, sorry, some articles about the war crimes which happened in Croatia, about some corruption, and about some politician that they were convicted for war crimes or for other war profiteers or something like that. And then I made a story out of that. So I didn't use anyone biography. I didn't dig to someone life. I just used some material from the newspaper, from articles. And then I made up the story with the characters, two characters. She's a young journalist and he's a taxi driver in Vukovar. And then I made up the story. They're completely fictional characters, but the context of their story, it's very similar to the Croatian political context at that time. So I wrote that, and it was like really. It was really hard for me at that time because I used to get some threats, and I was at the police because of some threats, and that novel which came out, and it was crazy for me because in the parliament in Croatia at that time we have some politicians that they were accused for war crimes, and it's not a problem. But when someone is writing about that in a manner of novelist, that's a huge problem. So it really, in a way, I was surprised how is that possible. But also today, from this point of view, I'm very glad that I wrote that novel. Although I as I said, I had certain problems at that time, but that novel was also translated to English, and it get great reviews in New York Times. So later on, at the same critics that they wrote really, bad things about that, they called me 5 years later, to have a new interview with me and to say something about my very, very successful novel in USA. So those things are changing, but as I said, also like with the Hotel Tito, I'm really glad that I had opportunity to write that, and I think it still means something to some people in this society, and maybe even in some others. But for me, this was very important to say.
So you mentioned that writing your second novel was for you getting out of your comfort zone. So how are you using writing as a tool for personal development, and how does writing connect yourself to your own local reality?
Well, I think that you mustn't think about writing as a tool for personal development. That personal development comes out of your obsession in writing, and your honesty, and your I would say bravery to dig somewhere where you don't want maybe to do that. And like every time, the result of that is, personal development. So I would say it is connected, but you cannot, be focused to some other goal in writing than, write honestly. Because when you are trying to say something and to tell the story, you need to be loyal only to that story. You cannot be loyal to your country, or to your mother, or to your partner, or to your ideology, or anything else. You just need to be loyal to that story, and everything else should grow out of that. Sometimes it's unpleasant, but that's the kind of work.
And talking about like your personal journey with writing, and you also told us that you have this mindset that healing always means like understanding the other, and having this balance between past but also the future. Did you always have this mindset, or did you kind of develop it throughout writing and saw it more clearly through this?
Definitely, it's something that you are becoming aware step by step. Now I'm my first novel went out, not my first book, book of poetry went out 20 years ago now. So it's not, like 2 years ago or 5. Now I just can look back and understand a little bit better maybe what am I doing. And it's not something that I was planning to do, or it's not something that was my professionally project, or but when I look back now, I can see the certain pattern in writing, which is connected with my personal life, definitely. I always write about something that becomes my obsession in one moment. And when it becomes my obsession, then I cannot stop to think about that. And then little by little, I start to research. And research, I would say, it's one of the most important thing in writing. You cannot write only from your head. At least you cannot write well. So, and it goes only like that. It doesn't go like, some topic will come to my mind, and then I will find it a little bit interesting, and then I will write about that. I could say when I look my books now, and it's almost 10 books now, I could say that all of them came out of certain obsession. And when I reveal those obsessions in my writing, I also revealed them in my life, and in a way that's connected with, as you can popularly say today, personal growth, but it always goes together.
So we talked about how the popularity of your book, The Hotel Tito, is hugely related to the fact that the story is relatable, the story of a young girl growing up and becoming herself. So how do you think the story today relates to current conflict, if it does relate to current conflicts?
On which conflict do you think, maybe precisely? Or
We were thinking more as the experience of children growing up in war zones and or post-war societies.
Okay. Well, I like to think, or I hope that in that novel there is something universal that people can relate even today, or young people, or very young people. But I'm aware of that fact that the world is quite different today than it was 30 years ago or 35 years ago. So now we are coming to that other field of reading and writing, and today's society and the world, which is changing so fast that I'm afraid that we don't have enough potential to proceed it, because it's enormously fast. So it's really hard for me to think out of skin of generation who is today 15, 16 years. Maybe not that hard, because I have, as I said, teenage kids in that age, but I think they have a little bit different approach to reality because of the internet, and because of everything is different. I don't know, so many things. But also sometimes happens when I go and have some, talking with the students in a school, that they can understand that the same experience, as I said before, of falling in love, or finding a friend, or getting drunk for the first time. It's especially interesting for my own kids, because when they start to read that novel, the only thing what was interesting to them was that true? Were you really skipping school that much? So I always needed to say, no, it's a fiction. I made up everything. So those problems are probably the same, and it will be always the same. So I hope that there are still some connections, and some relatable situation and emotion stage for kids today, and with kids from, I don't know, 30 years ago.
So probably also this story of growing up, or this universal story of growing up, is the same in all the different regions in the world, but also kind of remains the same over time and over generations. And maybe that's also the reason why your book was successfully not only in Croatia but globally, right?
Well, I like to think that way, but it's on readers. Maybe they should say what is the meaning for them of that book. But I think it's pretty much always the same. When we read a novel that we like or love, it's always because we achieved to make this process of identification with the character. And if we don't do that, then we don't give a damn. We can read that, but generally we don't suffer, we don't laugh, we don't feel. And there is something really deep, universal in all of us that is connecting us. So when you achieve to find that in your character or in your story, I think then you can say that you have novel or you have story.
And who was your target reader when you were writing the Hotel Tito, but also your poetry or your book? Like, who did you imagine, especially with the Hotel Tito, reading your book? Did you picture also a younger, or did you picture people from your generation?
Oh, I didn't picture, the target was my mom, I think, because I wasn't thinking that someone will read that. That was crazy because, some of the names in the novel, there is no second name or surname, but there are some first name, which I left the same because I was convinced that no one will read that. It wasn't because I'm evil, but it's just because, who's going to read it anyway? So I wasn't thinking about that. It maybe sounds, I don't know, crazy, but I was really having a lot of fun, during writing that novel, and it really amused me and it healed me. So I wasn't really thinking about, my reading audience. Also, I had two babies in that movie. I had one baby when I started, and then I had two babies when I finished. So I think my brain shrinked in some kind of mode that I wasn't thinking a lot. I was only writing when I had this free time, and I was happy to do that. And it was, really specific moment in my life when I wrote that novel, and I'm grateful for that because looking now, I don't know how would I survive two babies without writing. It probably would kill me. So it's better that I wrote something. Yeah.
And speaking of the younger generations, and seeing that they are maybe now further removed from the past and also the wars, how do you see how they approach the past and the legacy also of the Yugoslav wars?
Okay, well, it's complex question, and in a way it's simple. They don't think about past too much, and they shouldn't, because we didn't thought about past when we were at that age. And why should we think about the past? Because there is so many things that we need to do today. And in that period of growing up, you're changing a lot, as I said before, and you're changing all the time, and you're so self-centered because you're not the same from yesterday. And the new people that who are coming into your life, and making friendships and falling in love and trying to find your identity and who are you is so enough, and you really don't need to think about the past. And I can deeply understand that. But you should think about the past a little bit, in your spare time. Not because, to pay attention to something, or be, I don't know, in the past and think about those glorious time, or your great people who lived before you, but only because we need to understand that history or present moment, it doesn't start from us. And in a way, we feel like it starts from us, but it doesn't. And being aware of that and looking a little bit behind, it can help us to build the better future and the better moment which is happening now. Because, it's all the same, and we are all the same, even before, even now, and probably in the future. If artificial intelligence don't hack us all, we will probably be similar. And it can, looking back in past, can help us to better understand ourselves in present, and maybe to avoid some mistakes or some dangerous moments in politic life, like such as, I don't know, fascism or something similar to that. That's why I think education is very important, but also even more, or I would say almost equal, conversation in a family. Because through that conversation, through that emotional bonding, we are able to hear what happened before, and we are in a way able to connect that with our lives. So it is important, but not in a way, to go and see some, I don't know, places where something happened, or, I don't know, all those things that are in a way memorizing, which are important, but I think for young people without certain life experience, it can be empty. You need to connect with real people to understand what really happened in the past. And but I really couldn't blame the young people who are not so interested into the past, because it's normal. It's so, it's so human. But as I said, we need to find the frame, maybe as a society, as adults, we need to find the frame, how to say something to young people about that past that will be relatable to their experience.
And do you see younger people, the younger generation, engaging with your stories, your poetry, and your books differently than older generations, or do you feel like the reaction is the same?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm not that old yet to see those differences. When I'm thinking now, my readers, they're probably from, I don't know, I would say, okay, Hotel Tito, they're reading in the school, like some schools, they have it as a curriculum, and they're really young readers. And as I said, I'm going much better than some Croatian writers from 19th century, for example. They like my novel much more than those guys. I could say that. But my adult reader, they're probably from, I don't know, I would say 23, 25, and then plus. But I don't see for now so much differences between them. Maybe I'm not so much. Maybe I'm not so much in contact with my reading audience, because I'm a writer, and we are not that popular, and people are not approaching to us in the street and telling us impressions about the novels. So I don't know. For now, I cannot say that I see so many differences.
But earlier you talked about the importance of having conversation with real people about the past, and maybe your books and maybe art in general and literature is also a very important part of this conversation, even though it's not like face to face.
Definitely, yes. It's the only thing for me beside the real conversation, because it asks something from you. The reading is special because when you're watching, I don't know, TV show or movie, for example, you can scroll, on your mobile, or you can listen music and you can scroll and you can write something. But when you read the book, you can only read. There is nothing else you can do. You can try, but it asks all of you, and that kind of focus and concentration is crucial to understand something and to feel something. You can be in half with half of your brain in the book, because you won't remember anything what you have read. And every time when we are in such a deep concentration in something, then we get something out of it. And also when we are in the live conversation with person, we need to be, all in it. So art and reading especially definitely stands beside the real conversation and the real relationships that we need to have to understand not only others but also ourselves.
And what advice would you give to younger and future generations, and what lessons do you think we could learn from past experiences?
So I'm giving advices all day, to 16-year-old and to 18-year-old. I'm giving advices all the time, and nothing is helping. So I don't I don't have any advice. Or maybe no. Okay, I'll stop joking. But maybe to pay attention. Really, I know it's hard, and I know it. You don't think that it's important for you, not you, Martina, but for the generation. But in a way, as I'm getting older, a lot of things that I was thinking, like, when your mother or grandmother says to you, you will see one day, and then you think, okay, no, not again. And then sometimes it happens to you that you really see one day, and all those things you will see one day, just to pay a little bit attention, because there is something in the human experience that can be transported only through, living people and to real conversation and to real experience. So, I would say to younger people and to older people and to all people, just to be a little bit open and to get out of themselves to our, unique and huge pain, and just open up to the others. And paradoxically, it will help us to deal with our things.
And do you maybe have some advice for people that don't find it so easy to open up and also understand the other, what one can do to overcome this barrier?
Okay, it's so strange and nice from young people to ask me for advice. I'm not used to it. Thank you once more. Yes, of course, we are not all the same in that way. How we can open up and how to go out, but I think maybe I'm repeating myself, but reading is really one of the things that can be really helpful on that way of opening up, because we need to understand that we are not for ourselves alone. We cannot do anything alone, from the moment when we come to this world, we cannot be alone. We wouldn't survive, and everything what we have in our lives depends on the help of the other. And once when we realize that, and once when we step out of this self-centered position, it will be easier in every segment of our life. So there is no something that now I can give to you or advice or wisdom or something like that. But I can ask you to just experience that. It's not something that you need to believe in. Just try to experience that in your own life. Just try to be open to that idea that you are really not one and only individual with certain and one and only individual pain or trauma or experience. And when you embrace that idea, and you can embrace that idea through reading books, through movies, through music, through religion, or anything else that we have as a humankind that can, teach us to those really basic truths about our nature, then it really can be easier. But no one can give you that first movement. You need to do it by yourself. You need to take that responsibility, because although you don't need to be extrovert, or you don't, I don't know, need to be someone who will experiment with ways to find, your way or something like that. But in a way, we all have this certain responsibility for ourselves, and we must use it. No one else can give that to us. No one else can, can give us that push. Some people can give us advices, or their art, or their, point of view, or their, optimism. But that first step, you need to do it for yourself. And unfortunately, there is nothing or no one who can really help you there. But it's only first step. It's not that hard. So
And what would you say is your biggest achievement so far? And what do you want to achieve next?
Oh, yes. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. It's not easy maybe to measure your life through the achievements. Maybe we should first go step back and then agree on that, what is achievement, because there are so many different achievements in your life, from first we can go from personal, then professional, then but maybe finding the peace in yourself, it could be really the biggest achievement, without any cynicism or anything else. And the next great achievement would be keep that keep that peace no matter what is happening, to be stable in a way, and to not to be shifted easily, whatever is happening. And because things will happen, only certain thing in our life. Now I sound as a guru, but I'm not. But it's change. Everything will change from today until tomorrow, and in 2 years, in 5 years. And there is so many things that we cannot control. But finding, that stability in yourself and that inner peace, I think it's really the greatest achievement, probably. Yeah.
And are you currently working on some other projects, other books, novels, or we heard that you're also getting involved in teaching? Yeah, maybe you can tell us a bit about that.
Well, yes, I am a little bit in teaching. I'm having this creative writing workshop for now several years, and I'm also as a fellowship professor to young American students who are coming to Zagreb as a part of European Center for War and Peace. So I'm helping them study a little bit literature. And I'm looking forward for my new book, which will be out in 1 month, I think, in Croatia. So yes, I finished the book, and yeah, it's in a way achievement, finishing it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
What's the title of the book? Can you tell
The
us
title
already?
of the book, yes, the title of the book is Fiction.
Okay,
Okay.
I will note it down.
Okay, great.
And okay, so we have one last questions for you, and it's pretty much, do you have anything to say to us that we haven't asked you, and that you would really love to maybe spotlight something that you're doing, an initiative, or maybe one last remark that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think I said quite a lot of things, so I wouldn't. I don't have anything else to add, but I will be glad to answer your last question and some other questions if there are of our audience.
There are many questions. So there is a question, can you elaborate a bit more on healing through art and literature, music, film, reading, on individual and collective level? And then there is kind of sub-question. I was wondering if in any occasion people came to you someone came to you to ask you for advice or share their experience with you because they felt that you can create a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And what is your view on current state of healing or traumatization or trauma management or trauma support in Croatia?
Yes, I can say something more about that, but it's pretty much the same. As I said before, the main tool of art really is that process of identification, because many times I said that to my students and in creative writing and to my other students that we think that we are so special and no one can understand us. And our pain is so special and our wounds are so special. And in a way, it is true, but only in a way, because if that is true, if we would be so special, we couldn't understand each other through art, especially. And you can read the book which was written in some other language, but you can still understand it. You can read the book that was written 200 years ago, and you can still understand it. And that is showing to us that we are much more similar than different, and that we are, if you want, much more cliché that we want to see ourselves. And in a way, it can be, devastating because we are not so special. But in a way, it can bring you relief because you can see that all those things that you are thinking about and that you're afraid about and your wounds are so similar to the other people. And in that way, you feel less alone. And in that, floor of our similarity, all art grows out. Even visual art, even, music art, even especially art based on stories as literature, movies, TV shows. That's possible because of this process of catharsis. And we are, maybe we are not, while we are reading or watching something, maybe we want even to cry. Maybe we are feeling, bad or devastated, but it's good because it's, some experience are going through us and we are just in that process of healing. So that's why I think art is really important, not as a luxury in our life, but as a, key to communication with other people and, with other people in other languages, continents, and in different times. So I would say that art should really be the human right, not the luxury, and something that can really be significant for us. I remember when I was at university, and first time I crossed to the literature of Holocaust, and then I read the novels of Primo Levi, Imre Kertész, Jorge Semprum, Marguerite Duras, and for the first time, I think I realized that this is something what is writable. I could maybe write about that. And because of those writers, I had courage enough to write my own story in a way. And this is also connected with that idea that the world is not starting from us. When we think, we love to think, I did it everything by myself, but that's a lie. And that lie led us to this feeling of isolation and loneliness because we didn't learn to read by ourselves. We didn't, got all those knowledge and information by ourselves. Someone gave that to us. And when we start to think from that point of view, then we can really feel, as part of everything. And when we feel as part of everything, it's much easier to live in this world. And art especially can help us with that. And some people came to me. Second question. Yeah, okay. Yes, I had those experiences when, especially in a book promotion or, readings, some people came to me and they shared their experience with me. And that's that point, because writing is very, you're alone all the time when you write. Physically, you are alone. You're not doing that with other people. You're doing that alone. And for a long, long time, you don't know if that story is good because you cannot give someone half of your story. You need to write that down, all. And it requires time, 2 or 3 years. But then there is a moment when you meet your reader and when someone tells to you, the things you wrote, everything happened to me just like that. And that's the moment of, if you want, of achievement, but not, glory and fame, but achievement of, transporting your story into something universal, which is greater than you.
Thank you. There was also a question, what do you feel about the trauma support and trauma management? What is your view on it? How does it function and what doesn't function?
Well, it's
Croatia.
hard. Yeah, it's hard to say because there are different traumas requires different treatments. I would say, one in a way we have collective trauma. And I think we failed as supporting collective trauma because of several factors. Politicians, society, corruption, war profiteering, and other things. I think that we still have this collective trauma managed in a very bad way. Regarding the individual traumas, I think it depends, it depends which class you are in a way. Do you have money, or if you don't have money, do you have support of your family or not? But in the manner of society, I would say that we are also in a way failing, because when we see how many young people needs, for example, help from psychiatrist or psychotherapist, and in our health system, we don't have enough doctors, and it's also related to the politics. It's also related to management of one society, right? But there is also the other layer of that question is. And it's really now a long story. I will try to just summarize it. Our individually, how would I say, how we reflect the issue of trauma. Maybe I can connect that with one of the first questions. Am I going to let the trauma be the central part of my life? Or I'm going to do whatever I can to overcome that trauma. So it's not only the question of our potential of our, ability, it's also the question of our decision. And it is in a way connected with the society, but there is also individual responsibility. So it's a very complex and deep question, and I don't think that we need to elaborate that now. But as I said, regarding the trauma, we have a lot of different layers of dealing with the trauma, and in way of society today in Croatia, I wouldn't say it's maybe the best.
Thank you. I was just reading an essay of Monica Herzeg over the weekend, and she mentioned how difficult it was for her family, her father getting back from war, but being wounded and receiving very, very modest funds, very modest money, and he was a sole keeper of family. So they really lived in utmost poverty, and when they had to change their flat, and then finally there was a chance for them to get back to their village of Petske. They had to rebuild house and everything, and it was really, it was also linked with issue of poverty.
Yeah, that's a also crucial question.
On education, there was a question related to the history teaching and learning of history, not just for Croatia, but also other post-Yugoslav countries. What is impact of history teaching from your point of view in Croatia and in the Balkans? And regarding myths surrounding us, and what is the role of intellectuals?
Okay, yes, history education. Well, I honestly think that history education is meaningful only in the manner when it's telling us something about today and ourselves. The way of learning everything or almost everything in our school is a little bit questionable because we are trying to give to our students huge amounts of information which they cannot proceed in a quality way. So you can have the best information if you want, but the way of learning is not adequate. So I'm not even going now to the summary of history education. Just the way how to learn about the history is really hard, to have this school books that we have, and then you expect the kids with 10 years or 12 years just to relate with all of them. I mean, learning is deeply connected with power of being, in relation with things that you are learning about. It's really hard to learn something that you don't understand. So I think that's why the history is not that popular, not because what is written in the books, but first step is just the students are not interested, even because the way that those knowledge is trying to be imported is quite wrong. So I don't know what to say, and I don't think it's much different in any other region. Kids are learning about history much more looking around themselves, our families, our society, our politician talking, and they're not even aware that they are learning in that moment. The signs, the words that they are going to hear. That's the real class of history. And things that they are written in the book, I don't think that they are meaningful for most of them, only in the manner of getting gray or something like that.
Thank you. There was another question on education, but related to the textbooks and Lectira, the list of books which are recommended to, to in elementary schools or pupils in secondary schools.
Okay.
Are you aware that any of your books have actually became a part of lists of recommended books, either in elementary or secondary schools? I believe there are on lists of some professors at university. And if yes,
Yes,
you share?
I'm aware that Hotel Tito, for example, is in secondary school, and it's not in a list of obligation literature, but it's in a list of books that professors can choose to work with students. And some of my poetry in some textbooks, I think there is, and there are some also, but there are some great professors in Croatia also, and they're trying to be the part of educational projects wider than Croatia, in Croatia and wider than Croatia. So I know that my novel Sons, Daughters last year was the part of a project. I don't remember now accurate name, but some of professors were the part of that project, and some schools in Croatia, when we are reading minorities or stories that came from some minor communities.
There's maybe a follow-up question actually on that, because there was another question. Whether you think it would be useful to include your work in for educational purposes, and we already discussed that a little bit. But the question was, do you see its primary role more as a post-trauma processing of your books, and healing, or can it be able to do both? And I think you answered on these questions, but maybe you can reflect on that again. Thank you.
Well, as I said before, I think those processes are connected. If I understood your question well, and it's just in every process of, if we want to understand something, if we want to understand ourselves, if we want to understand our trauma or someone else's trauma, I think it's crucial to go deep. You cannot do that by, scrolling or just, trying to read some short posts about something, or trying to read something who wrote someone who we even doesn't know who is standing behind that. It's really hard to connect with that. That's why I'm going back to the books again, because we have some kind of integrity there behind that text. We can like book more or less, but we know that we are connecting with someone who is real and who is standing there with their own name and own experience, even if it's not out of fiction. But we always put our own life experience in our books. And then there is other thing, when we are reading, we are diving really deep, and through that concentration, I think we are definitely healing much more than when we are always in that surface, trying to, pick up something from here and there and then apply that to our experience. We need really to go deeper, and literature and art can help us in that.
I think it's time to reflect on our takeaways and summarize. I'll attempt summarizing, but will ask you to add, Ivana and Sara and Martina and Anthony. And it's that this accent on reading and on simply going and diving deep in the books, or listening to music and going deeper in music, or going to exhibition, or simply, being there with experience of art, and the way how you linked it with interconnectedness, that reading actually help us not to be alone. That music help us not to be alone. And the way how you ventured first in poetry, and then in writing first novel with first reader to be your mom, and then finding a way to the material first with your daughter and then getting another baby, and writing through and actually finding way to keep writing and surviving. It's really that what I take away is that point which you made, that history doesn't start from us, that while we read, we actually get aware that we are not alone, that we are interconnected, and that we can turn towards the other and look, can we help to that other person? So that overcoming trauma might be linked with that we look at the other and actually look at how to overcome trauma together. And when you have spoken about main achievements, there was this strong statement that maybe the most important is finding peace in oneself and keep that peace. This is
Yeah,
additional
it's easy to find
challenge.
it when everything is fine. It's not that hard, but keep that when everything is not fine and life is changing all the time. I think it's really biggest task.
Absolutely. And as you said, there are so many things we cannot control. And when you looked at Croatian society, but also other societies in conflict and post-conflict period, you mentioned, as in We Trade Our Nights for Someone Else's Day, your political thriller, that critics who have been very harsh on that book because it was critical of the role of politicians. Some of them called you 5 years later and asked for interview. Because it is that it's sometimes very difficult to accept criticism. But concerning finding peace, maybe this is a task on individual level, but for our societies, it seems to be, it's still to be hoped for, and it's not achieved. As you said, we failed in dealing with collective trauma due to corruption, due to war profiteering, due to way how politicians deal with memorialization. And actually, when they participate in the moment of remembrance, they very often use it for their own gains and not to remember the ones who are not with us anymore. So it's that I would come back to the way how we are interconnected and how you actually mentioned reading, music, but also religion as a practice which might bring us on the path of realizing that we are not alone, but together with others in facing trauma and facing ourselves and searching for identity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I really appreciated it. I cannot say it enough. I cannot amplify this enough. And I wish you all a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.